Over the last few years, more than $1 billion has vanished from decentralized financial platforms in a relentless series of high-profile attacks. The origin of this anxiety dates back to 2014, when the Mt. Gox exchange suddenly collapsed. Users lost over 850,000 bitcoins, worth tens of billions today, exposing the risks of trusting a centralized company with digital wealth. To prevent another Mt. Gox, developers built Ethereum and decentralized finance. The goal was to remove corruptible middlemen entirely, replacing human trust with automated math governed by smart contracts. Yet this trustless system is continuously losing funds. Researchers have found that these networks are highly vulnerable on two completely different fronts: microscopic flaws in the code and massive secrets kept by its human creators. The first major vector of protocol collapse comes from the programming language itself, specifically a bug known as an integer overflow. This vulnerability functions like a car's odometer. Because early versions of Solidity had strict limits on data type sizes, if an attacker forced a numerical balance to calculate a value that exceeded that limit, the system couldn't compute it. The balance simply rolls past its limit and resets to zero. Developers patched this flaw by integrating an external library called SafeMath, and later upgrading the Solidity compiler to version 0.8.0, which automatically checks for and blocks these math errors. These overflows demonstrated that treating code as absolute law is risky when the laws of math have strict limits that can be abused. A second code-level exploit quickly emerged, known as a reentrancy attack. Imagine going to a bank to withdraw your savings. You make the request, the teller hands you the cash, but before they can update your account balance on the master ledger, you use a malicious contract to re-enter the request on an infinite loop. The bank keeps handing out money until the vault is empty. The primary defense against this is a programming pattern called check-effects interactions. The code is rewritten to force the internal ledger to update its state before a single cent of payout is released. Technical loops like reentrancy can be patched through rigorous code audits, but those same audits leave the ecosystem blind to the identities of the people actually deploying the code. This brings us to the governance layer. By allowing pseudo-anonymous figures to control patched code, the ecosystem introduces a human risk that math cannot fix. In 2007, federal agents executed a sting operation against an online cybercrime syndicate known as Shadow Crew. Among those arrested was Omar Dhanani, who admitted to conspiring in computer fraud and grand larceny. He served 18 months in a U.S. federal prison for bank fraud. Following his release, Dhanani was deported to Canada. There, he distanced himself from his criminal record by legally changing his name twice, first to Omar Patron, and finally to Michael Patron. In traditional finance, a federal fraud conviction excludes you from managing money. In the crypto space, a culture built on anonymity provided Patron a perfect cloak for reinvention. Under his new identity, Patron co-founded QuadrigaCX, which grew into one of Canada's largest cryptocurrency exchanges, alongside a partner named Gerald Cotton. Cotton had his own hidden history. As a teenager, he actively promoted high-yield investment programs, unregulated Ponzi schemes, on internet forums. In late 2018, Cotton traveled to India and died suddenly. Because he held the sole passwords to the exchange's cold wallets, the entire ecosystem locked up, resulting in over $200 million in losses for QuadrigaCX users. Patron walked away from the fallout, utilizing the defense that he had quietly exited the company prior to the collapse. The $200 million loss at QuadrigaCX was caused by a failure of human governance, not a technical exploit. Fast forward to the decentralized finance boom of 2021, and a popular new project emerged called Wonderland. Driven by retail investors, Wonderland's treasury grew to over $1 billion in assets. To manage this capital, the community held a democratic vote. They chose an online financial guru known only by the anonymous screen name OX Sifu. In January 2022, amateur sleuths analyzing the blockchain successfully doxed OX Sifu, exposing his true identity to the world, Michael Patron. A community searching for a trustless financial utopia had handed a billion-dollar treasury to a convicted identity thief directly tied to Canada's largest crypto collapse. The founding premise of DeFi is that math is incorruptible, but the blind trust placed in anonymous leaders demonstrates that the ultimate vulnerability is the person holding the keys. Academic researchers call this phenomenon an exploit chain, a sequence where minor code defects intersect with bad operational procedures and flawed human governance. Developers have engineered incredible automated tools to detect integer overflows and block malicious reentrancy attacks. Yet the human governance layer of these protocols remains unregulated and unprotected. Despite the scandal, the Wonderland community later held a vote and approved rehiring Patchering Attorneyskaffer. It is a reminder that no amount of programming can fix human psychology. Until the ecosystem embraces the de-anonymization of its founders, billions of dollars will continue to bleed out. You can easily patch a smart contract, but you can never patch a human being.